Saskatchewan's liquor laws have changed a number of years ago, and with that has come some opportunities for local producers to grow and produce their own alcohol for many of us to consume, and that becomes part of a new taste experience. One person who's doing that very well is Dawn Reeford with the Saskatoon Co-op. She's the liquor division manager, procurement manager. Dawn, thanks for taking some time out of your schedule today.
Thanks, Randy. It's great to be here.
I want to talk a little bit about you yourself, an interesting person to get involved in this particular role that you're in. How did Dawn come to be in the place that she is today?
Dawn's story starts in the hospitality industry. So I actually moved to Saskatoon sometime in the 1990s to manage the restaurants at the Besborough, and later on moved to Whistler. Spent some time, definitely about 28 years, working in the hospitality restaurant side of the business. And then I took a brief journey as a wine agent, and I was the provincial manager for a wine company. So while doing that, I learned a little bit about Saskatchewan and our liquor laws and how to get products into Saskatchewan. But then when the opportunity came for me to apply for co-op, I had a little bit of experience. And so that happened 6 years ago. I started with co-op liquor.
Wow. And what have you seen just in terms of what's on the shelves today? Is it something that is the buyer a little more sophisticated and a little more worldly, if you will, about what's out there in terms of product?
I think in Saskatoon, definitely. We get requests all the time for products that I haven't even heard of, that our sommeliers maybe haven't heard of. We've got a lot of educated people traveling and trying great products in other parts of Canada and in the world. And when they come back to Saskatoon, they want to see it in our store too.
And what does that mean for, I guess, the local producers here who may have vineyards and there's some fruit wines as well? But that opens the door for craft breweries and some spirits to be produced locally and compete on that international stage. What does that mean locally?
We have a fairly decent sized local selection. There's a multitude of new craft products that are being locally produced. So within Saskatoon, I think we have, I don't want to put the number directly, but I think we have 5 distillers now. We have a couple of great fruit wineries right around Saskatoon, one up in PA, one in Swift Current. So we try to support them. We have a nice meadery that comes from Karen, just near Moose Jaw. And another new meadery just opened just outside of Saskatoon. So we try to support local whenever we can. But from the wine perspective, people are still looking for a lot of international wine varieties, and that's something that we specialize in at our store.
I find that interesting. Some of the work that you've done that I've experienced firsthand, you're very good at that. And talking with other people who have been around the world, tourism is a major component of it, who have had something someplace else, and you're able to network and bring that product back to our city.
Depending on what the client wants, for sure. When the rules changed a few years ago, we really had an opportunity to bring in a number of products. Alberta has a really large agent stocked warehouse with wines from around the world. And quite often we've been able to find just a case of something or 2 cases of something, just one province over that now we can bring into Saskatchewan through the SLGA, which is fantastic. So it's opened up like a huge wealth of opportunity for our customers. We have a lot of ethnic groups, like the Hungarian Pavilion, for example. When Folk Fest was on, they came and they were looking for Hungarian wines, but we can't be bringing in full pallets of wine because there's a small community that wants that wine. So now we can bring in 2 or 3 cases and they have exactly what they need for their event. It's great.
I think that's wonderful to hear that we can accommodate people from other lands who are moving here, and we've seen immigration uh, take off, if you will, with the numbers we have in the population in Saskatchewan. So when you do your work as a procurement manager and you're sourcing product that's out there, do you have opportunities to kind of do pairings or work with the food industry here, the restaurants and chef-driven owners that are out here doing that pairing? It's really put us on the international map, I guess, if you say, in the writers' world, and we've been featured in a number of articles internationally. Are you seeing some opportunities both with the food production and now the ability to bring in more different types of wines and spirits to go with those foods here?
Yeah, I would say absolutely. And from the hospitality perspective, we supply a lot of restaurants in town with some of the wines because they're interested in something special that they can maybe be the one to exclusively sell something in their restaurant, and we're fine with that. It's up to them what they want to sell. Whenever we get an opportunity, sometimes we'll have winemakers come from Australia or we've had one from Australia lately, one from France, and they want to come and have a dinner with somebody. So at that time, we get to partner with a restaurant, local restaurant. They get to show their wines with a beautiful setting and great food, and then the people can buy the wines after. So it's a mutually supportive industry, I would say.
I would imagine, not being in the world actively in that role with uh, being a restaurateur, but working with them closely, I would imagine likening that to traveling to Australia to have a meal with my family there and being able to get some Okanagan wines or Niagara wines uh, there to host my Canadian palate, I guess, if you would share that with people and neighbors there. Uh, are you seeing some educational components as well, learning about, uh, I guess, things like heat and varieties of wines, where they're grown? And if you look at Napa and Sonoma, there's probably going to be some differences that maybe not many would know the difference, but if you lined up 4 or 5 different types of wine, you'd be able to tell that difference.
Oh, for sure. So without this sound like an ad for what we do at Co-op, but we have two beautiful tasting rooms, and we do educational events. We also teach a program called it's called WSET, which stands for Wine and Spirits Education Trust. It's an internationally recognized wine program. They do wine, spirits, and now they've actually just started into a beer program. But basically, it's learning about wines, different regions, different varieties. You said, for example, Napa and Sonoma, which are two regions side by side, but Napa's a little bit warmer, Sonoma's a little bit cooler, and even the same grape can taste just a little bit different. So that's our specialty. That's what we love doing and talking about.
I would imagine, for what limited number of experiences I've had doing that, one thing I can relate to is tasting things, and you wouldn't think that there would be that much difference between, let's say, corn, if you were in a taste test with corn cobs, and some are sweet, some aren't, and same thing with a hamburger versus a steak. But having the wines lined up, or even craft beer as an example, uh, that opportunity that you have, and we'll show a picture of your room, and there's many others that are doing similar types of things to what you're doing in your store. Uh, but is that an education thing that is coming to the forefront now that people are traveling, and we want to share that with more people? I've been to France and I want to showcase where I was with some French wines that we can get through you.
Yes, absolutely. I also think that people are interested, if they're interested in France, it's a nice way to, if you can go to a tasting here, or I think Metro Liquor's doing them as well, you can try like 6 wines and decide which you like. Not every wine is for every person. And so it's nice to have an opportunity just to sample and see if that's something that you actually want to sink $20 into.
Is it, have you experienced that, I guess you get what you pay for, but sometimes there are some tremendous value products that are out there in terms of being locally produced that compete internationally and win.
There's definitely some great local products that compete internationally. And then for us, that's a great value because it's grown right here. And I think our cost of goods is probably a little lower. If you look at one of the distilleries just on the south end of town, great accolades internationally. Uh, yeah, definitely good opportunities.
Are you seeing the volumes? I guess our population is expanding, but are you seeing any increase in consumption? Everyone talks about responsibility, and I think the shift is happening with responsible consumption. People are getting that message. So now it's not drinking for more of the effect and volume, but more of an educational type of taste testing and actually being a little more refined people use that comparison. I didn't think I knew the difference between Coke and Pepsi, but when you put them side by side, it's very real. Is that something that you can see where people are just getting a little more of a refined palate locally?
I agree. I think there's more, the quality versus quantity is definitely coming to the forefront. There's, I'd say the group aged 30 to 50 is finding more interest in spending time learning more about the product before they enjoy it. We still have, obviously, there's still people that are going to a party and there's mass consumption, but for the most part, yeah, people are quite interested in learning about what they drink before they try it.
And you mentioned some time ago that there would be a website that we could be guided to help us kind of source some things on our own. Uh, where would that be, or what would the website be for that?
Oh, thanks for asking, Randy. We just launched a new website for ourselves. It's called shopliquoryxe.ca, and it lists all of the events that we're hosting. So right now we're working with Prairie Lily. So we're going to be doing events called Sailing with a Sommelier on Wednesdays for the summertime. So we're really excited about that. And people can buy tickets through us on that website.
I think it's a beautiful marriage of what we can do here in Saskatoon and the region, and celebrate those small successes. And I want to thank you and Co-op for doing what you're doing and making things just a little more refined in our city.
Thanks, Randy. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Don. We'll talk to you again. We'll be right back.